Greetings, class. Coming to you once again. This time to talk about Week 8, Chapter 6, in reference to assessment. And I took the opportunity to read the Billming or Bill Blymeling. I think that's correct. I may be wrong with that. But the Blymeling article from 2013 that just talked a lot about all of the different pieces as it comes to assessment. And it's interesting that I mentioned that as one of the skills or tools that I want to gain knowledge in as a student affairs professional, whether it be within my practicum or outside of my practicum. So I think that I had a kind of draw to this article more than anything, seeing that it talked about the comprehensive assessment programs and challenges that are faced by creating those types of programs. So just off bat, the thing that stuck out to me was a quote that was listed in there that says, "The current climate of assessment demands that institutions explain why college costs as much as it does, and that they quantify how much the students learn, what percentage of the students graduate, and what the cost to benefit ratio of that education is in the labor market after graduation, and that they offer lower cost options that provide the same content." So I think this is extremely loaded in terms of being a statement, because with assessment we are tracking data and we're trying to find out this information, why college costs as much as it does. It's a large concern for students who want to obtain degrees as to, are they getting their money's worth? Am I really going to be able to translate this degree into earning potential? That's what it really comes down to. And I think that as student affairs professionals, it's important for us to understand assessment, and it's important for us to be able to explain why college costs as much as it does, and being able to provide and show how many percentage of our students are graduating. Why are they graduating? What is helping these students graduate that may not be helping other students to graduate? And I think that by giving multiple options, students have the autonomy to say, I don't want to pay $30,000 a year for school. I want to get this education. And it may not even be a matter of fact of choice, but it could be literal just circumstance. There are a lot of students who are coming from single parent households, or coming from households where there are multiple siblings. So trying to finance education is a little bit more difficult, whereas if they are to go to lower cost options, such as going to a community college for the first 2 years and then transitioning or transferring to a four-year university, that saves them money, keeping them from having to fall into these huge tanks of debt. And debt in America as it pertains to student loans is rising crazy. It's just it's almost astounding to see how much debt there is as a ratio to how many jobs are being provided, as well as how many jobs are being obtained by these students who have these massive amounts of debt. And as a college graduate, I am one of those students who is looking at my loan debt and I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, I had to take out, this amount of loans in order to get a solid education. And it was not that I didn't have the opportunity to get scholarships. So I don't want to make it seem like there's no other option outside of taking loans. I think there are definitely options and opportunities that will allow you to finance your education, whether it be scholarships, grants, things of that nature. But it really depends on the circumstance of the student. And where I was sitting at was, my parents were not rich by any means. However, my parents were making enough money to be able to sustain a kind of middle class lifestyle. So they did not have enough money to just fork out and pay for school for me out of pocket. Nor did they have not enough money to be able to say, okay, well, if you want to go to summer school for a 1 credit class or a 2 credit class, that is something that we can finance. Just paying for that class. But in terms of you doing your entire school like that, no, because you have to consider room and board. And I wanted to have the full college experience. I wanted to be on my own. I wanted to live on campus. I wanted to be a part of organizations and participate in activities. And in order to do that, it took money. It took a lot of funds to cover room and board. And although I was able to find opportunities that helped with not having to do room and board, such as being a resident assistant, being a community assistant, being an executive student assistant, that took care of housing, took care of meal plan. Working on campus often provided me extra funds that I could use to pay for books or to pay for certain expenditures I just had as a college student. So my experience in college related heavily on the amount of assessment that was being done. As better assessment was being applied, I was able to get some of the benefits that previous students did not get. But because of assessment, the professionals that were at my university were able to say, okay, this is working. Let's figure out a way to continue to make it work and make it better. This is not working for certain, procedures, systems, just setups all around to divide how we're spending our funds from one semester to the next, student fees, things of that nature. And I think being able to tweak certain programs and certain aspects of my college experience using assessment helped me out more than I really discovered, or more than I knew back then. But I discovered later on, being on this side of the student affairs field and being able to help students learn the impact of where their money is going, makes their experience all worth the while. I think that networking is extremely important. Not to take away from the assessment piece, but I think through networking we can make better ranks at assessment. Another quote that was listed in the article was, student affairs administrators are awash with cumbersome bureaucratic tasks and reporting requirements. Therefore, they are understandably reluctant to undertake assessment efforts that take valuable time but appear to have little influence on the management demands of their daily work. So I think a lot of student affairs professionals run into this kind of expectation to complete certain tasks that are geared specifically towards assessment. It has nothing to do with the betterment of our scope of work. However, the numbers and the data that can be used from that assessment can make the student experience more enhanced. So I think it's important that we're not looking at assessment from mono or solo level, but we're looking at it from a several level or several tier aspect. We are getting information from students that can help us better serve our next set of students, or better serve these students as they move and translate, or I would guess you would say graduate to other levels. So a freshman going into a sophomore going into a junior becoming a senior, or transfer students, or returning students that are coming back, continuing education students, our Veterans Affairs students, things of those natures. I think it's important that we're looking at the numbers, but that we're not just focused on just the numbers. I think it's important that we're focusing on the study behind those numbers and how we're applying the study of those numbers to enhancing the college experience for students. I really enjoy seeing the process. I really don't like the numbers, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I like seeing how those numbers translate and how effectively we could transform our students' overall experience just by tweaking numbers and just by surveying data that has been already there. It was there before, it may just not have been discovered or been tested. but being able to get it straight from the students, their opinion or their opportunity to better understand how they fit in their role as students and their experience and how much power and control they have. I think that assessment is huge, and I like the fact that now it's beginning to become more technologically accessible, not only for faculty and staff, but for students as well. They're able to see, hey, these are the numbers that are being involved in the decisions that are being made as to how my education is going to be for the next 3, 4 years, or or 1 or 2 years if the student is almost close to graduation. So I really enjoy this chapter and reading that article because it's something that I'm getting a gain interest in, and becoming a dean of students. I know that it's something that I'm going to definitely have to follow up with and utilize in my journey assessment.